boys screws loose, they done stripped the bolts on them. Shoulda never sent them to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all goners. Tech cursive on the chest,
Alrighty. Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. It's Monday, November 4th. The Celtics get the 123-93 win over the Hawks in Atlanta. Jayson Tatum, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, dishing the ball out pretty nice. Derek White, 21, 6 and 6. Pritchard at 18 points. He continues to just be lighting things up. Celtics go 4-1 on the road trip, or 3-1? 3-1. Something like that. We lose one on the road. We now have 5. I just saw that they just had it up there, so I didn't write it down. But I did see we have 5 road wins, most in the NBA. So that's a good start, I suppose. This one, was pretty much a stinker, Huncha. Like, got a little bit interesting there in the second quarter. Joe called a timeout, and then I think we went on like a 27-8 run, and it was just pretty much a wrap from that point. Oh, it's a different headband Cornet pick. Damn, I thought we just got our damn. We fired out that. Oh, now they got the scout fix. We're watching. They asked for it was headband night, so people who don't know what we're doing, it's headband night. Jayson Tatum, Derek White put the headbands on. So the post game show is throwing a bunch of headband pictures on. I got excited there. It looked a lot like the Cornet one that I had made. I got very excited for a second there.
We had the upside down logo one, so
that's that fuck went into the ups. You know what it was? I used the Nike logo, so they probably can't. We're not a Nike podcast. Have to, we got a tough spot.
That's tough.
But anyway, back to the game. Little side quest there. A season full of side quests.
That's right.
Celtics again. This game they ended up winning by 30 points. It was close maybe till about 8 minutes left in the second, and then it was pretty much over. What did you like? Kata got the start. No Jalen still tonight. What are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much summed it up well. I thought what you really saw in this one is, especially after the DeJounte Murray trade, how Trae Young centric that Hawks team is. Trae Young did absolutely nothing tonight. He eventually got ruled out of the game. They said it was like sore ribs or something, but I think at that point it was more of like we're down by 30 than any actual injury.
He didn't want any more Derek White and Drew Holiday.
1 of 10 shooting, wasn't creating. So when he's not going, that's pretty much a lottery team, which I think they maybe should be anyway. Not really. They're in a tough spot. We can talk about the Hawks later, but I thought they had like a decent. Well,
only if we have to.
Yeah, I feel like we do. But I mean, they had coming into the season. I thought I kind of liked some of the things they did, and I still don't hate some of them, but they're a long way from contending. And we've said it before, but it's hard to watch and not go back to like, wow, in 2021 that team was in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think that was kind of fool's gold, as much as it was, great run, and don't take that away from them. And for a lot of franchises, I mean, shit, for the Atlanta Hawks, I'm sure like maybe their fans wouldn't trade that or whatever. It was a great year, great run, but I feel like it kind of like tricked them into thinking they were close and building with that in mind and trying to skip some steps and get over the hump, and they're far away. And Trae Young's a good player, didn't have a good game tonight, but that team, they're far away from contending, and the Celtics just completely outclassed them, and they were letting them hang around. I think it was like 40. It was tied at about 44, something like that, a few minutes into the second quarter, and then you said, it's like the defense showed up. And it's funny because I had a lot of different notes about where I was like, because I was actually, it made me go search when they were basically just trading baskets, and the Celtics right now are 13th in defense, middle of the pack.
Defense
not
isn't
bad.
Great.
Right, not bad, but I think
comparatively
it's
to what we're used to, I guess I should say.
For sure. Well, and compared to elite teams in general. So it's interesting because I don't think anyone questions the Celtics defense, and we all kind of know like when they need it, it'll be there, which they've even proven this year in stretches. Like it's not like we haven't seen it. We just haven't seen them put it together for full games, but also, I mean, again, they're 7-1 and they almost made a huge comeback to win that one loss. So it's hard to argue that they have needed like more than they've given. It's interesting. It was kind of occurring to me to like, is this just going to be the norm for the whole season, that outside of, stretches here and there and maybe specific games that we really get up for, are we just going to flip the switch on defense and that'll be it? Otherwise, we'll kind of coast knowing that our offense is so good. We really don't need that elite defense most nights, and we'll kind of just save a whole nother gear for the playoffs. And then, like I said, as I was making all these notes, the Celtics turned it on. And I think from that point forward, allowed like 60 points over the final 3 quarters, held them under 100 points. So it definitely improved the old net rating, the old defensive rating tonight. But it was just kind of an interesting thought, and wasn't even really like a critique or a criticism. It was more just like, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of a good way to look at it, is like, I think if there's games that call for 48 minutes of it, we'll see it. But I do get a little bit worried just about too much of like that, I don't know, mindset. I don't want to react. It's early in the season too. Like, it could just sort of be getting used to playing. Like, again, it's the same team, but I'd say the rotations are a little bit like different. Like, things are guys are playing more, and with guys they didn't necessarily play with before. I mean, just look at the big lineups that we've been seeing out there.
Sure.
And I think, Pritchard's getting more run. Tatum's playing the whole first quarter. Like, there's differences. So I think there's a little bit of that gelling part of it. But I do get kind of worried about if it is sort of like going too far into the season, kind of still playing with that. Like, like when we get up for it, we'll shut him down, because I don't know. I get nervous when I think about it, and I'm putting the cart before the horse here. But like, when you think about like that Warriors team that was 73-9 or whatever, it's like, I don't know. Like, when it came time to have to lock in for those full 48, I mean, maybe I'm doing a little revisionist history on how they blew that lead, but just sort of is like, you think I am?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I would
but
always be focused.
What you're saying is the opposite, I feel like. If anything, that team
No,
was
I'm
so
saying
focused during the regular season that if anything, they ran out of gas because they put too much pressure on themselves trying to set that record.
Well, that's good. That's good to know.
Like, that's the opposite of what the Celtics are doing.
I thought I remember that team to being like playing like Globetrotter basketball. Like, I don't really remember them.
I mean, they went 73-9.
Yeah.
That was like pre-KD. Yeah. They hadn't. That wasn't like KD. Like, they knew they just were dominant.
Yeah.
That was just. I mean, they obviously were pretty dominant, but I don't know. I think that was a result of them going.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better, because
my only concern
was like, if you're just. That makes me feel better, because my concern was just basically like, I know we're nasty. They know we're nasty. The NBA knows we're nasty. But like, I don't want it to be a thing where it's just like, because I think over time, if you just always am like, we'll turn it on when it matters, like, eventually, I don't know, that just doesn't work out. So again, this is definitely nitpicking. Like, we're trying to find, and like you said, they absolutely did turn it on, and they completely cut off the water for the Hawks
to 93 points after a 40 point. What was the first quarter? They allowed at least like 30 something. It was a high scoring game.
It was 30. They had 30. So 63 points over the last 3 quarters. So I mean,
can't be mad at that.
They shut the faucet off. So
for sure. For sure.
But yeah, when the team's 7-1, you kind of trying to, I guess, look for whatever. But
yeah,
I do. Overall, I'm not worried about the defense, but I think the numbers, I've seen those numbers floating around on like Twitter and stuff of like when we are in these stretches where we're not playing well. And yeah, it's like middle of the pack kind of stuff. And I don't know, I've been kind of wondering when we were going to sort of discuss that, but it's tough to do it on a night where, like you said, they shut it the fuck down.
Well, and also it's hard to discuss it until it is a problem. Whereas, like, again, for the most part, they've been doing enough to win all these games. So it'd be a concern if we were 4-3 and it felt like we were like really coasting. What? Yeah, no, but I'm saying if it was resulting in more losses, it'd be more frustrating. But it's like, if they're winning games mostly by blowouts, it's hard to be like, well, they should, instead of winning 120-100, they should have won 120-80. Like, that's, so like you said, it's gonna be some nitpicking, but it's interesting too, because if you look like historically, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but a vastly overwhelming amount of teams that I think have even like made and especially won the NBA Finals, a staple is being top 10 in offense and defense. Oftentimes top 5 in both for those elite teams. We obviously were last year. And it's like, again, it's such a small sample size and so early in the season, like, this could level off and be a completely different discussion by next week. But like, if we're sticking around that true middle of the pack area, that would be a little concerning at a certain point where it's like, to what degree can we turn it on? But I guess at what degree, to how much degree would we even need to turn it on at that point? So again, we're putting all these cards way before the horses, but again, on a night where you're kind of looking for any reason to be, I don't want to say pessimistic, but just looking for things that I guess could become talking points. That to me was one. And then again, they completely changed it around as soon as I wrote this in my notes.
Yeah, I mean, that was. I feel like there have been a couple games where it has been like I'm taking these notes in the game, and then just kind of was like, well, fuck. All right, now we're up like 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
I also think too, like for most of that with the Hawks staying in the game, it was just that Jalen Johnson guy was just like absolutely balling out.
And he's a good player. I think the Hawks made the right decision giving him that extension and building around him. I think they found a real guy. Like you can totally see it. He's raw, but you could see a little bit like, okay, I can see the vision here building around a guy like this, a big wing who can play inside and outside. He's athletic. He made a couple plays.
Future of the game, baby.
Yeah, present of the game. It's
the current game. Current game that we're playing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's a good player. And again, I think that's why it's they're in such a tough spot because I would say normally like just trade Trae Young, blow it up, rebuild. Jalen Johnson, I like. Shea, again, I know he's off to a slow start, but I saw some moments out of him. Yeah, like build around Shea, Jalen Johnson. I liked the Dyson Daniels deal, like getting him in the DeJounte Murray deal. I think he's a nice little fit there. Good pesky little defender, like what I was seeing out of him. I've liked Okongwu for a while since they drafted him, so there's some pieces there. Again, those pieces are like so far from realistically be able to like help Trae Young. So it's tough because I think Trae Young, he's still one of the best players in like franchise history. I don't think you can just give him away. Like he does put asses in the seats. Believe it or not.
If they're blowing it up, I don't think that means they're necessarily giving him away, right? I would think he would still command a pretty decent trade market. I mean, but either way, I mean, definitely don't want to do it after tonight. Yeah, 2 points tonight. Yeah.
Right.
So you definitely want to wait a couple days, but I don't know. I just feel like, and even if you're saying I don't think it's going to get any higher.
I think the return would be underwhelming.
Right, but I don't think that it's going to get any higher in like a year or two.
So they would probably rather just have one of the 10 most marketable players and biggest superstars in the league, even if he's not.
I mean, I guess from like a marketing, but I'm saying if we're talking about pure like what is if we're looking at like 5 years where the Hawks will put them in the best spot, I think it's moving on from him and just kind of letting these young guys play. I mean, there's teams that have finally accepted that fate. I feel like they're almost on. They don't have the 2 stars, but they're almost on like the Washington Wizards like kind of trajectory where it's like you have this like top like guy that's just sort of like makes you just good enough to not be that good, and just bad enough to not really.
You mean the Wizards with Beal?
With it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's a good comp because I think it's similar where Beal. It was like clearly he's a really good player and an all-star, but he's also clearly not good enough to be like the main guy on a team that's worth anything. And that's where you're stuck in that spot. And especially for franchises like the Wizards and Hawks who don't have reason. I think it's just harder to sell to your fans that like, yeah, we're just going to get rid of the best guy we've had in a generation and we'll be good again soon. Like it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
So, like they haven't exactly earned the benefit of the doubt with their fans. Or again, the last, like I said, that Eastern Conference Finals run is probably the most exciting moment most Hawks fans have had in their lives, unless they were alive for like the Dominique Wilkins era. I mean, I guess they had some good years with Val and whatever, but you get the point. But you get the point. Like it's not
took the C's to 7.
It's not the same decision I think it is for some of these franchises where like you can rebuild on the fly. The Hawks, they could kind of do this whole process and never get a player as good or exciting as Trae Young again. So I mean, just look at last year. They got the number 1 pick and Shea. Like I said, I'm not like down on him, but right now, if you had to guess yes or no, will he make an All-Star game? You're probably saying it'd be a long shot. So, and I think that was tough. I mean, they were lucky to get that pick because I think they had like the 10th or 11th best odds. It's not like they really had any business drawing first pick, but then they obviously got some bad luck where, if that was a year before or after, if that's the Wemby draft, like you're looking at suddenly a franchise who's like, holy shit, we have Trae Young and Wemby and, the road is paved for us for the next 15 years. And they were off by 1 year and got Shea instead. So part of it's luck, but I also, and I think we talked about this at the time where that pick kind of fell in their lap. Cause again, they were trying to make the playoffs last year. They weren't trying to get a number 1 pick. It was a total surprise. I thought it was kind of a real like fork in the road moment for the franchise where it kind of gave them an out. Like we can trade Trae, we could trade DeJounte, we can blow it up. We have this number 1 pick. Like we can get all these other picks, totally bottom out, number 1 pick. reset the franchise a little bit, and that's like a great start kind of out of nowhere. I thought, or the other option was to go the reverse route and be like, we got this gift. Let's trade the number 1 pick for a haul and try to get another good player next to Trae and be like contending soon. They did neither. They kept Trae and used the pick. And then
actually,
and what you saw is
just totally
tonight.
blown it. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's not like everyone didn't know it was a down year in the draft. So maybe again, the return was so underwhelming that they were like, well, fuck it. It's just exciting that we have the number 1 pick. It's not even worth it if the best player we can get is, I don't know, John Collins, who they traded. Like, that was the first guy that came to mind, even though he was a Hawk. But my point is, I don't think anyone was giving up like an all-star for that pick. We all knew. So,
no, you're right.
I don't know. It's just a tough spot. Like I said, good luck and bad luck kind of at the same time. And I feel like they're really in purgatory now. And I don't know. I'm not sure what the next move is for them. It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, they're fucked. They'll always have that little back-to-back against us, though, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, speaking of which that was DeJounte Murray, is why they're fucked, because they traded all their first-round picks in that trade. So, they don't even have their own pick this year. So I don't think they can
to
even
get
really
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, they traded the Spurs at least 2 first-rounders, one of which
Jesus
they definitely
Christ.
still. So I think, I'm pretty sure the Spurs have the Hawks pick this year, so they can't even really tank, even if they.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess you can, but again, that
sounds like a disaster. That was a good Hawks segue there, but I think. Yeah. Oh, so that's great. Granted, they didn't make a lot of threes tonight, but after every 3, they do that little bird sound in the arena.
Yeah. It's pretty
just
sick.
like insanely annoying. Yeah. Imagine if the Celtics did that, they would have to find a really good sound, because you'd be hearing that shit.
What would the Celtics be? Like the coin from like Mario?
No, someone else does that.
I think the Nuggets might
do that. It would have to be like maybe like a sound like the Lucky Charms, like Leprechaun makes. Didn't you make like a? Didn't you do like a?
Something like that there. All right.
Thought he had some kind of. My voice got a cracked when I tried to do the Leprechaun giggle there.
That was good.
I could have sworn he had
something. You might be onto something. That sounds accurate.
Something with gold. Anyway, let's talk real quick. So this season, I'm going to read off a few numbers to you.
All right.
And maybe you'll see if you can crack this code here, all right?
Okay.
15, 14, 17, 8, 7, 16, 13, 16.
Tatum's first quarter points. Yeah. Absolutely insane. He's got, I think I saw that he has, that's 5 of his games that first quarter double digits, or first quarter more than 14 points. I think he's for 5 of his games. He's the only player in the league that has that going for him. He's the only player that's done it more than once.
The only player that has done it more than once. Even better.
Yeah.
So what do you like? Last year, I feel like it was kind of Jalen's thing, the first quarter thing. Tatum now has been playing the entire first quarter, a lot more of these games, which me and you talked about last year.
Every
game
this year. Other than one.
That seems like a no-brainer to me, just to keep him in. I never really understood taking him out unless it was, it worked, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love that they're keeping him in there for the whole first quarter. You even saw it. I mean, that run that came in the second quarter was like a
when he went back
when he came back out on the floor. So, again, I thought by the end he's settling for a lot of threes. I think later on in the game, he had 26 and a half. He finished with 28.
Made a lot of them.
He made a lot of them, but he made a lot of them. But I do think there's a couple times, and of course, I mean, this is going to sound crazy because he made the shot. But when he had Trae Young on him, I was like, it's sort of like we talked about with Grant. Like, you kind of like, why aren't you just taking him? When the shot goes in, obviously, obviously you should have done that. But I don't know. The first quarters for Tatum, first of all, I guess my first point is, what do you make of like this first quarter, like resurgence? Like, it's pretty crazy. And like the shot selection, like as the game goes on, do you think there's anything to that?
So the first quarter thing, I don't know this, but it kind of feels like it's almost like the compromise between the Celtics and Tatum, where they're in it for together, where it's like, all right, if we just keep kind of doing what we did last year, we'll be sick, but like you're not really going to be in that MVP talk. So why don't you go out, get your work done early, and then you can rest at the end of the game. You'll still put up your stats, and everyone wins. That's almost kind of what it seems like.
That's not a bad call.
It works for everyone because, again, he goes out. He still played only 30 minutes tonight. I think he sat the entire fourth quarter, but he got 26 points at halftime. I mean, again, he kind of had a slow third quarter. Not that it's a big deal, but finished with you know, you look at his numbers tonight, and like I said,
It looks like he would have played a full game.
Exactly. Well, yeah, 28, 6, and 9. It's like, okay, great performance. Not really going to hurt it. You know, it actually might bring down his scoring average a tiny bit, but you get the point. It's like a full stat line. Whereas some of these nights, again, he's never going to complain about it in a million years, but I'm sure that when the team wins by 40, he plays 27 minutes and he eases his way into the game. So he finishes with 12 points. Casuals and, you know, Lucas Stan 69 on Twitter is going to be like, oh, Tatum only had 12 points and carried by this team again. Like,
super team.
Yeah. So again, I don't think they like really care about this, but I think this is just a good way to like everybody wins. Go out there, put up all your stats, go crazy, and hopefully it works so well that we're winning by so much you still get to rest for an entire quarter or more. And it seems so far like an effective strategy.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I didn't really think about it that way because I had mentioned a little bit in the preview sort of saying like, it feels like they're going to sort of let him do more. And maybe that's kind of where it is. It's like, we're still going to play within sort of the system, but you'll have more time early to kind of do it and get yourself going.
Just like,
and then the rest of the team can kind of ease into like where you're at and what you're doing. But it's fucking sweet though. My God,
great.
just lighting it up in those first.
Well,
it really is.
Tonight, the 3-pointer was back. He was hot. What did he shoot? Like, I mean, he's 6 of 8 shooting. I know a bunch of those were threes in the first quarter, so he had it going right away. And
he was 6 of 14 from 3.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that was at the beginning. As what you said about the shot selection, those numbers are high, but like I said, it's kind of knowing the situation. When you're up by 30 against the Hawks, you can afford to just shoot threes, especially when you've been on. You can miss a few. Not a huge deal. Like I said, at this point, I have confidence that, you know, if it's a tie game in the fourth quarter, he won't settle. He'll make the right play.
Right.
He's basically earned the right to just chuck it. And with the Trae Young thing, I mean, at least with Grant, it's like Grant's the same size. He's kind of a big, lumbering big man you can blow by. Trae Young is so small and so bad at defense, like that's basically just like an uncontested shot. He's not even seeing Trae Young, so if he wants to take that three, like that's fine.
I mean, yeah, he ended up, I literally was like not jumping up and sort of getting in my seat, like, take him to the hoop. And then he just hit it like, oh, all right, make sure to sit down, be quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. The MVP candidacy is, I think, still going very strong. I'm going to look it up real quick. Just a reminder, I was on it first, 1,500 for him to win the MVP. It's got to be way lower than that now. Peyton Pritchard, I love that NBC Sports is behind the Peyton Pritchard for 6th Man of the Year train. But we all know where that train left the station.
I mean, you say it though like it's like a long shot. He's like he's a leading bench scorer in the league right there. It's not like it's no longer
not a long shot. No.
Right, exactly. I meant it when I said the betting markets, but I mean he's got to be in the top 10 right now. Like he's legitimately
pulling him up now.
The guy off the bench. I mean, a lot of these games he's one of our leading scorers. He's got to be averaging like close to 15, 20 points a game straight up. So again, there's really
no
nothing
6-man odds up yet.
Nothing about it is like fluky, or it might have started as like a slight joke, but it's really not. I mean, he's playing as well as I think any bench player in the entire league. So
I'll be honest. When I said Cornette for All-Star, I might have been joking a little bit. Pritchard for 6th Man of the Year,
that's legitimate.
That was a prophecy. That was a prediction.
Definitely.
Tatum 2 is to plus 450 now for MVP, so he's third. SGA is plus 250. Luka's plus 300. Tatum's plus 450. So
perfect. So I mean, it seems to be working out. It all seems to be reasonable, and this again is partially in jest again, but I think it goes back to what we were kind of saying with this side quest stuff, where it's like you need things, and I don't want them like going for individual awards, but I think if the whole team is like rallying together around like fuck everyone else, we want Tatum to get our reputation. We want this for him. He's our boy. Like let's help him win MVP by all like working together. Then that can be good. I think that can be something that the team rallies around and helps. Like same with Pritchard for 6th man, whatever. It's little different things. And that, again, when you were talking earlier about how you just don't want this team to get too like complacent, I think that's part of it. Obviously, we mentioned Joe, that Joe won't let it happen. But yeah, these little side quests like that, like, you know, giving Neemias Queta his first start of his career tonight is something for the team to rally around. Mixing
first
a guy.
Portuguese player to start. He's also the first Portuguese player in the NBA, but to also start. So that's a cool thing with Neemias. Every time that he does something, he's the first Portuguese player to do it. So we're going to be firing up a lot of graphics. Shout out to the Portuguese audience.
Big fan of that. But again, all of this stuff I think is, you know, stuff that will stop the team from getting complacent. And again, guys like Kata isn't getting complacent when he's getting his chance out there. Jordan Walsh is still trying to earn an NBA, like he's playing rotation minutes. You don't have to worry. He's not going to mail it in. So if you can balance it out, I think with enough of these guys who still have that hunger to prove themselves in the league, which we're doing a good job of. And I mean, even like Hauser and Pritchard, they won a ring and they were a real part of the team, but those guys are young. They want to prove that they're more than just that. So you've got still a lot of hungry guys on this team. And then we've obviously talked about how the Jays are on their own quest to prove stuff. And then, we've got these awards quests. So I don't really worry about the complacency thing just because we still have like so much to prove, so much to play for, so much motivation.
So many side quests.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited for all these side quests and to complete them. And it seems like we're on our way to doing so and completing a lot of them every night. It's fun. It's fun to watch.
Yes. Speaking of a little side quest we had during this game too, it wasn't until like 10 minutes left at the end of the game that we let up our first fast break point tonight.
Yeah, right.
Kind of cool as a team. I don't know if they mentioned on the broadcast, has a team ever shut out fast break points?
I don't know. They probably didn't start. That's like play-by-play data, so they probably didn't start tracking it since '96. But that's still a lot of time.
Still, yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But
all right, we'll have to get Dick.
It's either way.
Dick Lipe on that. It might even say something about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Good side quest there. Yeah, I don't know. The only other thing that I had was I thought that there was a little bit of a tight leash for Kata early on. We just talked about him a little bit. He came out of the game pretty early. I think part of that was just the defensive stuff. We've talked about it before because he looked great. Again, he looks so good on offense. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is just sometimes on defense where he just seems like he's still getting a little bit lost out there. Do you think that was... You got pulled because of the... Do you think you got pulled because of the defense, or do you think the plan was always to kind of...
No, I think they definitely called the timeout and put Tillman in there to give him a piece of his mind, and he came back in there and was on the court for that huge run in the second quarter. So he bounced back. I think these are part of coaching him up and all that stuff. So side quests are still like everything's still earned. We're not just giving it to you because you're there. I thought he's been playing well lately. He earned the start, but he's still got to keep earning it out there. And I thought he did start slow, and they were scoring like every single possession. Timeout pulled him out again, and then when he went back in, played much better, I thought, the second time around. So
he was a plus 31, so he tied with Derek White for the highest plus minus.
Decent.
So that also makes him the first Portuguese player to lead a team in plus minus in their first start in the NBA. So
wow,
shout out Kata.
Who knows what the next time we'll see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to top that. You got anything else on this game specifically?
Not to go too inside baseball, but I thought it was a good moment in the first quarter by Scal when he was explaining the spacing that both of our guards can provide from the dunker spot on offense, which I think is just like a good basketball lesson in general, because I do think we, in this era, especially of the NBA, we talk about spacing like it's such a buzzword, and Joe's kind of made it that, where he talks about spacing every 2 seconds. And I think a lot of people, when they hear that and picture that, they probably just consider spacing like 3-point shooting and like every guy is so far away, like literal spacing as far as you can. But it's really not. It's more of like balancing the court and the way you set guys up almost like it's a chessboard. And we probably don't talk enough about guys like Drew and Derek who can play in that low dunker spot, where we see with other teams, that's almost just a place you hide guys. Like famously, Ben Simmons would just sit in the dunker spot and basically just clog up a team's spacing. But for us to have 2 guys who at any second can pop out, set a screen, be involved with the action, make a play from there, cut to the hoop and finish, or get outside and shoot a 3 at any moment, is like, you can't take your eyes off this guy for a split second. So I think that's kind of an underrated piece of the Celtics offense that we've talked a lot about, and another kind of counter to all the people who are like, oh, they just go out there and chuck threes. Like, there's so much more to it. It's so intricate. Again, we're not going to do a 40-minute breakdown and lesson on the X's and O's, but I thought that was a great point by Scout.
You should start doing that on our off days.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to do that at some point.
That would be like step inside of Chuddy's corner, like Chuddy's other corner.
Yeah, right. But he was just really speaking to me, and I thought that was a really salient point where, again, we just hear spacing, the word, like drilled into our brain every 2 seconds. And that was a perfect example of how spacing is truly just that, like creating the best space. And it's not just everyone standing as far away from the basket as they can at all times.
Yeah, no, that is quite the potent front court that we have there, or back court. I'm sorry. All right. Let's, all right. I have a couple of non-game things, then we'll pay some bills. We'll do a little around the NBA. I thought one, Tatum was on. I saw some podcast. Let me see if I can find the actual podcast. Give them the credit. But essentially, in the podcast, he talked about when the Celtics signed.
Gordon
So
Hayward.
it was on the Club 520 podcast. Shout out to Club 520 podcast. Called his agent after they signed Gordon Hayward and basically was saying that he wanted to get traded. Like he was just like looking to get out of Boston. He thought obviously he wasn't going to play or anything like that. His agent told him like, calm down, relax, like let this play out. And, obviously we'll never know how it would have played out if Hayward's leg didn't have what happened to it on an opening night. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I always kind of love those, like, it's almost like a behind the mat, like, type of thing where it's like, oh, damn, wow. Like, there was one, this all could have gone so differently for us,
I also,
so just kind of cool to it.
The thing about that is, like, that was literally Tatum's rookie season that we saw. Like,
yeah,
was right
he
after
didn't even
the draft.
play. That's what he said, yeah.
So I get, like, I don't know. It's a pretty crazy thought that a rookie would ever like demand a trade because of like the team signed a good player.
It doesn't sound like he demanded a trade. It sounds like he just called his agent and was like freaking out.
Yeah.
I don't think that they said like the Celtics or anything. I think his agent was probably like his agent probably was like, dude, like we're not doing that. Like that's just not a good look for you. But
yeah,
just glad it worked out. It was just kind of
for sure.
I scrolled by and I saw that clip.
Even if it's nothing actually happened, it's good to know like that was his mindset, which is interesting.
Yeah. All right, we'll pay a few bills and switch over to some around the NBA chat.
Chuddy Chain.
Sound good? Chuddy Chain. Fuck the Chuddy Chain. Whose turn is it to go first? I know.
It's my turn to go first, I want to say.
All right, go ahead.
I'm going to give it to Tatum. I think Tatum deserves tonight's Chuddy Chain for, again, what we said, going out there and taking care of business, and that's going to be a big part of the season for him, for the team, for everyone else. So especially on a night where there is no Jaylen Brown, for him to come out, put out a big first half, 26 points, and basically make this one a laugher by halftime. We need lights like that to get through the regular season. So shout out to our superstar player going out there, getting it done.
All right. That's a good pick. I think this is one of those nights where you do kind of just give it to maybe the best player on the floor. But I'm going to go pivot a little bit differently. I'm going to give my Chuddy Chain tonight to Al Horford. I thought that he just was playing like just solid ball. Like there wasn't anything necessarily that jumped out. He had a couple blocks. He had that block very early on the 3-point shot that led to a Tatum 3-point on the other end. So that was just, I think, early on, just kind of a big play. Only finished with 9 points, 5 rebounds he had. But like some of the things you're doing, the 2 blocks, never about the stats. That little like reverse 2 under the basket, like kind of layup that he had there, was just like awesome. I just feel like again he played 22 minutes, but in that time, I think back in Atlanta too. They had the interview with his mom there. Sounds like they have unreal dinner parties there when they go to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll give mine to Horford, and I think just kind of like being that veteran guy. I know we don't like to use the term turning back the clock with him because it doesn't seem like he ever like lost this. But
right.
It's still just super impressive that he's doing it kind of at that age,
No doubt.
So Chuddy Chain for me tonight will go to Horford.
Respect.
I almost wanted to give it to Keita just so he could be the first Portuguese player.
I thought that was a lock.
Yeah, I got to keep people guessing, keep everyone on their toes.
There you go. Including yourself.
Including myself, yeah. Didn't know what I was going to say until I started saying it. Just start a sentence and let it ride. All right, so yeah, we'll switch around the NBA. Before we do that, shout out to the sponsor of Chuddy's Corner, longtime sponsor and friend. And, we're not just spokespersons, we're also customers ourselves. Nick Perino Real Estate. Check out nickperino.com. That's Piraino, nickperino.com. All your real estate needs, whether it's big, small, whether it's local, whether you're going across state lines, whether you're going across country, whether you're going across the ocean, whether you're leaving the atmosphere, Nick Perino Real Estate has you covered. So check out nickperino.com. All right, big night in the NBA tonight. Every team is playing. If you're wondering why the Celtics started at 7:45, it was sort of a staggered start. They had games tipping off every 15 minutes. Very like, what was that? Did you just? Never mind. I thought I heard. All right. I thought I heard you burp or something into the mic. I might have been wrong. All right. It distracted me. Celtics every team was playing every 15 minutes. I think what do they do? Do they just do this because nobody plays tomorrow? So it's just kind of like, is it like a whole idea to raise awareness for voting or something like that?
Yeah, so it's part of like a
is it related to
civic
voting?
engagement awareness program that they have going on where nobody plays tomorrow, which is an absolute nightmare, obviously. But everyone plays tonight, everyone plays Wednesday. And so, yeah, starting at 7, every 15 minutes, a game tipped off, and it will continue to be the case until 10:30. 15 games, all staggered at 15 minutes. Absolutely awesome. I've been watching the games, just rotating my TVs when one ends, switching to another. I've got 5 screens going, one on the multi-view. So we're not missing a moment over here. We've already had some great finishes tonight. The Cavs took down the Giannis-less Bucks in what was actually a really good game. Went down to the very end. Cavs pulled it out, led by Darius Garland, who's quietly been their best player. I feel like everyone's still they obviously have Mitchell and he's great, but Darius Garland this year has been unreal. He had I think like 39 points, made all the plays down the stretch, hit the big shots. Jared Allen too, huge plays. The Cavs still undefeated, 8-0. So I don't know when we play them, but that'll be a doozy of a game. And we were kind of all over this. I feel like at the beginning of the year, saying everyone was sleeping on them. And yeah, they look very, very good right now.
We were on so much shit in the preview. Like we really have, like
no doubt. And speaking of that, we were down on the Bucks, who with the loss fall to 1-6 on the season. And I saw a stat that in the last however many years, there's been like 150 teams to start 1-6 or worse, and only 12 have made the playoffs. And only like 7 of those, I think 7 didn't have a winning record. So it's looking like an incredible long shot that the Bucks will even be a 500 team this year, which is crazy to think about. But also not that crazy, maybe. If you're thinking what we were thinking.
I mean,
the trade rumors have already started. It's crazy. I saw a report today that was like an anonymous NBA exec says like he can't picture Giannis going anywhere but Miami or the Clippers. It's just like why can't you? Like why is that what you're picturing?
Right.
Based on what?
Yeah.
It's just
like again, Miami is the same thing as Dame. They don't have anything to offer.
And like they're not good right now. And like, why do we just assume Giannis, who's played his whole career in Milwaukee and is from, just happy to be over in America, like tried a smoothie for the first time and went like crazy. Just suddenly he's like, yeah, I only want to play in like Miami or LA. It's like, I just don't buy it at all. Like, he's going to leave Milwaukee. I think it's going to be to a team that he thinks is really good.
I mean, I can totally understand leaving Milwaukee to go to one of those 2 places, but
I guess.
Like, just like from a pure, like, hey, you can leave Milwaukee and go to Miami.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that
maybe,
sounds sick.
But
again, I just don't see how the Heat can make that happen. I don't know as much about the Clipper situation, but I could see that being a team that would get a little bit nutty just with the new arena and shit like that, especially if Kawhi looks like he's going to be out for a while. But yeah, it is. It's funny how quickly that implosion. I mean, it didn't help. I mean, Giannis said at the start of the season, like, if things go badly, like, I might get traded.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not like overly surprising. I just do think it's just adorable that it's always like the Heat is like, oh yeah,
right.
Like Heat fans will now. I hope it becomes the same thing where like they just try to force it so much that the Milwaukee guys like fuck you.
That's what
I'd rather trade.
I already am
seeing
trade him Heat fans on the internet be like, yep, like Pat Riley purposely like fucked Milwaukee into trading for Dame so that Giannis would ask out. Like so genius.
Ooh, I like that. Oh. Like serious chess moves there.
That's like 12-dimensional chess.
We knew Dame sucked. We didn't actually want him.
We were just driving up the price so the Bucks would get him. Like
that's adorable.
Totally.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, the Bucks are screwed, dude. Do you think Doc making it through the year or what?
Well, I mean, we all know that Doc. This is the hardest job that anyone has ever taken in the history of the world, and he wouldn't wish it upon literally anyone what he has to go through.
No,
so
how could you?
I mean, let's not, we shouldn't joke about such like a serious matter, obviously, with Doc.
That's a good point.
And let's not forget the team was 33-12 with Adrian Griffin when he took over, and I think they're now 17-25 since he took over. So like again, I don't want to pile on. He's got it really tough. We all know how hard Doc has it. So
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Wouldn't wish that on anyone. Really wouldn't. So just hate to see it happen. Really.
Poor guy.
But we'll see. I mean, I guess he's been calling up plays for the Harris Walls campaign. So he's been busy with that. Maybe he'll get a win Tuesday night. Maybe it might be the only win he gets this season. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But they got a lot of problems. Coach is definitely one of them. But I think that roster was on its way to being pretty fucked before he got there. So
It's fucked. They
yeah,
traded
at this
Drew
point,
Holiday for
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
That makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, it's
all right. What
it's
else? What else you got from around the league? What else is going on?
So I mean, tonight we had a lot of the games are still playing out again since it's because of these cool kind of staggered start times. We saw the Pistons with a nice home win over the Lakers. Kate Cunningham had a triple double. That was good to see.
Got Cade.
Yeah, we've got speaking of the Heat and Kings. I'm watching 0.7 seconds left right now. The Kings just took the lead by 1 point. The Heat
wow.
Drawn up a play here, chance to tie. The Rockets. Right. The Knicks are going down to the wire. That's a 5 point.
When that comes on, we need your play-by-play. Let's see your play-by-play skills.
So good games all over the board. A lot of good games still to come tonight. Just a really cool night. And I mean, I hate that it has to happen because we have no games tomorrow. But I think just in general, like, this is such a good idea, especially in basketball, because it's so many nights we do get this kind of like witching hour, and I like watching it on crunch time. But it's harder than like an NFL to watch all these games at once. So this stagger is perfect because as you're looking, it really is like you get to watch the last 3 to 5 minutes and focus just in on that game, every game. And I mean, I do feel for my single TV brethren out there, although I don't understand you. I don't know how you go through life on a daily basis, but I do accept that you exist and I don't want you to suffer. Just because, things are bad, I don't want them to be bad for you. So this gives them a chance. Even the one screen havers.
That's true, yeah.
We got an inbounds play here, and we're looking at Terry Rozier putting up an air ball at the buzzer. Kings win. So
that was how many seconds did they have left?
It was 0.7 seconds.
Oh, okay, all right. I was going to say, you didn't really give us much of a play-by-play.
No,
it wasn't a whole lot of time
No, the
left.
Kings hit basically the game winner with 0.7.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, no, there's nothing you can do about that. 0.7, that's about as much play-by-play as you can give.
Yeah, and I mean, whatever the initial play was blown up, and Rozier just popped out to half court and threw up a prayer that was not answered. But what can I say? Not every team has a Peyton Pritchard for those moments. If they did, I'm sure you and I would be talking about a Heat win as we speak. So.
Wow. Glad they don't have that guy.
Yeah, but beyond the basketball, because we can dive into all of this basketball later, but I feel like a couple of big, somewhat off-the-court stories we got to hit on. Most notably, of course, the situation in Philadelphia that just keeps getting more and more fun. They're having a normal one, as they say, in Philadelphia. So after their loss the other night to the Grizzlies, which dropped them to 1-5 on the season, we get reports that Joel Embiid has assaulted a reporter. I think the first report from Keith Pompey was just hilarious because it was like, I don't have the tweet, but he basically just tweeted out something along the lines of like, in a season that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons in Philadelphia, like, no, it starts off with like, oh boy. He's like, oh boy, a season that will be remembered for all the wrong reasons in Philadelphia. The team just lost to the Grizzlies, and Joel Embiid just assaulted a reporter. Like, what? Crazy. So it turns out there's this whole backstory with this Marcus Hayes guy who it sounds like is kind of like almost probably like a worse version of a Washburn, just like a local troll who's been around forever and is kind of always writing like shitty stories about the team. Crossed the line on this one.
He crossed the line big time.
For sure. But like just dumb article and made, if you haven't seen it by now.
So I was gonna say, hold on. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, in the article he basically drew a comparison to like Embiid like not playing to like letting down like he was like something about the birth of his son and like the death of his brother was like a turning point in his career, but since then he's playing like a pussy, like just like absolutely insane.
So what it was is basically Embiid said that he wanted to like, his brother passed away in a car crash at like age 13 before the two could be like reunited in America, which is obviously very tragic. And then Embiid named his son after him, and then Embiid had said basically in a story that he wanted to like leave a legacy behind for his brother and now for his son. And then the guy was saying basically like, well, how can you leave a legacy if you don't show up to work or something like
just insane.
After mentioning that. So like, there's a bunch of things here. First of all, like the point he's making is fine. There's just no reason to invoke like that part of this. Like you could have just taken out that one paragraph, made the same point about like Embiid not showing up and like letting people down, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Like you can talk about a player's legacy without mentioning that they linked it to their brother. Like
it's also just hilarious that like that is like the legacy, like his, brother's passed away is going to be like, yeah, like you were a NBA MVP who made like $500 million and set up our family for the rest of the time. But like, I don't know, man. You could have been like a little better. It's just
Yeah, like is it? Yeah,
I don't think
right.
at that point his legacy as like a human being, I think, is pretty cemented. It's like whatever he's
Yeah.
done for his family, and like being a good dad. But to be just like, yeah, he's like mailing in kind of for the Sixers. Like his family would be disappointed.
Would have been a lot
It's
cooler.
just-
Yeah, no, I mean the whole thing was crazy,
so
but
preposterous.
so back to that night. So like the initial that guy what was it Pompey or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Pompey, shout out Mount Vesuvius. He's like, at first he like someone's like, oh, I bet you're just overhyping it. He tweeted back like he literally punched him.
He punched him, yeah.
So people were like, oh shit. And then Chants came in and kind of threw someone said no punch. There was no punch.
He
There's a
deleted
shove,
the
no
punch tweet quick for what it's worth.
Yeah,
too.
deleted the punch tweet too. So they said he basically like shut. It sounds like they were kind of jawing at each other for a bit, and then Embiid just sort of went at him, and people just split it up. So, like we said, I think we're all on the side of like, yeah, I think Embiid. That I don't mind that he went after the guy. It's dumb. I mean, it's not in your office, you know, sometimes you can't. But we all get that. So I'm not here to rip on Embiid, but I think it's kind of like when you put it up in the whole context of what Philly's season has been in the last few years.
Yeah,
it's just a comedy of errors,
right.
and it's also like, and you had mentioned this, so I'm still a little bit of your thunder. We talked about this, where it's like, what is this guy even still doing allowed in the locker room or something like that? Like, I feel like in Boston, like I don't know if you're allowed to just not allow reporters, like specific reporters in, but I feel like it would have been like, I don't know, just done differently. I mean,
well, yeah, done differently. And
Kirk
like I
can't
said,
even
I don't
buy
know,
a ticket to a Celtics game, like you
right.
know.
Well, and I don't know if this guy's a local beat reporter and he has a press credential. If you want to get into like you're banned from the locker room type of situation, but then like you knew Embiid was mad because he had come out and made public comments about this. So if you know that there's a chance there's going to be a confrontation,
he like looking for him too,
and that he's angry, like carve out time for them to meet, not like in the locker room. Get them on the phone together, like do whatever you got to do to make this not happen. Whereas again, it's like so many of these things that we make fun of the Sixers for seem random, but at a certain point, it's like when they all happen to Philly, it's like at a certain point, it's not random. It's just a reflection on the organization. Like there's no other organization where the star player is assaulting a media member like after a loss in a game that he didn't even play in.
Sadly,
like so again, as much as we're like, yeah, I'm on Embiid's side. Okay, but you also can't just lose your cool and push a reporter who's like God knows how old and out of shape. Like you just can't do that either. So
yeah.
Again, like, was the guy out of line? Yeah, probably, but he deleted it and tried to apologize. And like you said, I think there's more. I think the family thing obviously ticked him off, but I think it's a reflection of how frustrated he is with everything in general, with the season, with the fact that he's sitting out, with the fact that he can't get on the court. Like, I'm sure he wants to play and is pissed about this. And I think that was a reflection of where he's at, where they're at. And like you said, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's like this organization that just makes a mess out of everything. So again, like
Philly's gonna Philly.
Yeah, I want to make excuses and write everything off, but at a certain point, it's like, well, but it's you guys, like, and there's just always weird shit like this happening with them. Like, this is now the NBA is investigating this, so that's now 2 investigations launched about Embiid, and he is yet to suit up for a basketball game. Like,
he's got heat
only
right
them.
now.
So
He's got serious
again,
heat.
it's like as much as you want to be like, oh, haha, like, no. At a certain point, it's just like this is insane. And it keeps happening, and it's always Philly. And like, where's Daryl Morey? Just like quiet as a mouse. Come out, say something. And again, so much of this is the way they've handled it. Like, why don't just come out and be like, he's hurt, he's not going to be able to play till Thanksgiving or whatever. Like making it this story every night where they're like, now he's just questionable game to game, and he's just getting ruled out one game at a time. And Nick Nurse has to go out there and be like, I don't know. Like, it's just such a disaster.
They talked about this on the broadcast. They talked about this on the broadcast the other day, though. It's kind of like, it is kind of crazy that the media is asking like the coaches about like the injuries. Like,
who else are you gonna ask?
You know, I mean, I
don't
guess
get to
I
talk
get that,
to anyone
but it's
else.
just kind of like
I think the
point.
GM,
The point. Hold on. The point that they're making on the broadcast was they were saying like they really should have like the trainers give interviews and stuff like that too, because it's like the coaches really don't like he's like Missoula isn't getting like daily updates on Porzingis. So like when people ask about it, it's really just like
okay, because the Celtics don't fuck around with they're not even listing him as questionable for every game. They were like, we'll see him around Christmas. They've been very straightforward with the updates, and anytime someone asks, I've heard Brad answer questions about it, I've heard Joe answer questions about it, I've heard Wick answer questions about it. They're not just like, I don't know. Like, this is the opposite. They basically said he wasn't injured, and then right before the season started, they're like, he's out for the first 3 games. And they're like, but he's not injured. He's ramping up. It's like, what do you mean?
Ramping up
like,
is so funny.
I don't understand what that even means. And now
The next time I'm late for work, I'm just gonna say that I was like ramping up.
yeah,
Like,
I
no,
mean, it's totally
it's
reasonable.
fine.
But and then
I was
again,
ramping up.
I've heard nothing from Maury. I've heard nothing from anyone other than Nick Nurse, who made one statement and was like clearly annoyed, and that backfired. And now he's just getting asked, and it's like, well, if you're gonna just go on a game by game basis, you're gonna get asked about it every game. Like you just
All
are
right.
because
All
the
right.
team
We're
fucking
way-
blows without
We're
him.
way
The whole
over.
team, like
We're way
it's-
over on time. All right.
what else
We
is there
know
to talk
Philly's a
about?
fucking joke. Yeah, Philly's a fucking joke.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
Do you got any other news around the NBA? I want to talk a little bit about the Warriors game coming up. So, you got anything else quick
Yeah,
about
well,
around
just
the NBA?
Greg Popovich hasn't been traveling with the team because he's sick. Hope that's nothing, and he's just genuinely sick
Oh,
and is
damn.
back with the team soon. But he's missed a couple games, so never want to see that. He's obviously it's fine as far as you know, but getting a little long in the tooth. So got to worry about our legends. Hopefully he's fine. It's nothing, but just definitely wanted to mention that.
All right. Thought T's and P's to Pop. Well, hopefully we don't need T's
Hopefully
and
it
P's.
doesn't
Hopefully
need-
it's just
hopefully it doesn't
just
get to that
tease.
point.
Just tease. Just tease.
Just-
Thinking about your Pop. That's it.
Exactly.
Just tease. No P's.
Just tease for now.
All right, great. Yeah, we mentioned too. No NBA at all tomorrow. Any idea what you're gonna do with yourself? There is Maction. Maction is back. You got Bowling Green, Central Michigan. You got Miami, Ohio versus Ball State. Throw the record books out when those teams meet.
Those will be good
both
games.
should be interesting.
Definitely.
I saw some college ball. College hoops is back. Are you going to survive without the NBA for an entire night?
I mean,
this never happens, right? There's always at least one game off.
It's not going to be easy. I don't like it at all. If a candidate vows to do away with these awful no game slates, they will probably have my support.
Wow.
But as always, we will get by. Like you mentioned, we got some men's college basketball. We got some women's college basketball. We've got
Falls at Kennesaw State. 7
Yeah, I mean that's a
p.m.
good game. That's a really good game. So we got a lot to watch for there. You're gonna hear some of my thoughts. I got the draft notebook will be out tomorrow night, so you could hear some of my thoughts from tomorrow night on our draft episode several months from now. You never know. If we want to go across the pond where they're not concerned about our nonsense, we'll certainly have great.
I think they're a little concerned.
Well, perhaps, but not enough to cancel their marquee events. We got a great Champions League slate. UEFA will be pumped about that. Obviously, might have to record some of those games and stretch them out versus watching the Golasso show going live on it. So we've got some other stuff later in the night, but I can always watch some film.
So
I can
like
always
okay.
get to some tape. I'll find stuff. I mean, there's always gonna be stuff on. I'll find it. I'll do my best. It's also the NFL trade deadline, which I think is kind of funny that it's just happens to be tomorrow. So that would just be absolutely hilarious if there's some like random blockbuster trade out of nowhere that's like becomes a huge story.
Just completely blows the election off the front page.
Like, that would be pretty hilarious. So I'm rooting for that.
All right, before we announce that state, we do have a breaking trade in the NFL.
Like how much could that affect vote? I mean, what's the biggest swing state? Like Pennsylvania. So if like the Eagles or Steelers just make some like massive blockbuster out of nowhere, that'd be pretty hilarious.
We're just partying.
See, way lower turnout. Like I don't know. Something funny.
People are
like
glued to their TV to find out if this trade.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right,
something to watch.
So that's good. So we'll survive. We'll survive the Tuesday without the NBA. But yeah, it is. I mean, now that I do know that I have the time with no NBA tomorrow, that I'll have plenty of time to vote. I guess I'll get out there and do it. So if anyone wants to send me any info on the candidates, what their stances are, that'd be great. I'll get caught up to speed. I'm a little behind. Perfect. Hopefully it's still just two people, right? They didn't change that. Yeah, it's still just two people running. Nothing's different.
I don't know. Can't confirm.
Anyway, get out and vote. Even though we booed Grant Williams for wanting to say get out to vote, get out to vote. We are a pro voting podcast.
Boo the man, not the idea.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's go. Let's real quick. We got Steve Kerr coming into town. This one's been circled on a lot of calendars. We both ranked this pretty high on our games to go to as a Celtics fan. So if you're going to this game, you better bring the fucking energy. Steve Kerr, I hope he just gets the absolute shit boot out of him. I hope Tatum drops a 50 burger. Is Steph still? I know Steph came back tonight.
Yep.
You had a little theory about that. Do you think he's going to play on Wednesday? I'm
mostly just teasing our friend of the show who we know has tickets to that game and is rooting for a good game. I was joking that, Steph was playing tonight so he could pretend, he needs a day off on Wednesday to recuperate. But no, I don't expect that. I actually think beyond the sideshow of the Kerr Tatum rivalry, it's gonna be a really good game. We talked about the Warriors; they've been playing great ball. I think they won tonight. They're either 5 or 6-1, and they're blowing most teams out. They're playing really well.
18-point margin of victory. They said in the broadcast tonight.
Buddy Hield has been an awesome fit for them. Curry obviously is Curry. And a really deep team. I like the way they put together. Kyle Anderson, Slow-Mo has been a great fit for this team. They got some bigs now who can play a little bit as Trace Jackson Davis moves his way into the starting lineup. You got guys like Kuminga, Moody trying to make their way onto the scene, prove they can play. Pajemski's been really good for them, and others. So again, Steve Kerr playing a ton of guys. They've been really deep, really good on defense, playing really fast, and making a lot of shots as the Warriors often do.
You can play fucking 12 deep when it's the Warriors.
Right. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see if there is kind of any extra juice beyond it just being a really good game. And if you recall, the last time the Warriors came to the Boston was the game, the don't cover Jaylen Brown game, which I believe we won by like 40 points. So,
yeah, that was good.
So that was already, Steve Kerr being our clown. We've seen it in the past. And that was also the game where I forget which one of, I think it was I forget if it was Thompson or Curry who had the line after the game when they asked him about it. And he's like, damn, he's like, that's what we used to do to teams. If you recall that famous quote where I think it was wow. So
avalanched him.
Yeah, now that we've won the title, it feels like that's the case even more. Huge 3-pointer, by the way, by Jalen Green to give the Rockets an 8-point lead over the Knicks with now under a minute to play. So see if they can get
good for them.
Finish line.
No, I'm excited about the game. It's kind of cool with the Warriors. I mean, they were definitely a team that I think this might have been one point where I was wrong in the previews. I think I said I think the Warriors are pretty much done and cooked and over with. So sounds like so far they're playing pretty well. I really just hope that it's just like I hope the fans are relentless to Steve Kerr.
I think we can count on that.
I don't really know how much you can like boo just the coach because he's not like going on the floor getting the ball or anything like that. But like I feel like anytime he calls a timeout, they should boo. That'd be kind of like a way to sort of like let him know that it's like what we're booing is you specifically. Like so,
I wouldn't be surprised if like every Tatum basket we get like a quick "fuck you, Kerr" chant or something like that. I could definitely see.
I hope they come up with something a little more creative than that.
I guess what else is there to say? Like,
I don't know. Yeah,
Jordan
fuck you, Kerr, I guess
punched you.
There it is. That's a good one. So any Chuddy heads going, get a Jordan punched you chant going. If a Jordan punched you chant gets going, and you send a video of your section starting it, you're getting a free Chuddy's Corner t-shirt. That's for sure.
There you go.
That's an ironclad promise. All right, cool. Well, we'll see everyone back here then on Wednesday. Make sure you get out Tuesday and vote for whatever you want to vote for. Very important process. This is our public service announcement.
And I also, as another public service announcement related to that, I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking it'd be funny to go out there and write in Brad Stevens, but you got to be careful because a lot of people are probably thinking that, and if he wins, we might not get him as the president of basketball operations for the Celtics anymore. So we obviously would rather him, running the Celtics than running the country. So just, think twice before you do something that you think is harmless.
Fuck, I'm back to the drawing board for my vote.
There you go. Sorry.
No, doing good. All right. Well, then again, Celtics get the win. I think 123-93. Fucking crushed them. We'll see everyone back here on Wednesday. Take care.
Peace out, Chuddy heads.